Hello, this is Nakt.
And Sascha of Apparat, and you're watching Toasted.
Welcome to Lowlands. I just saw you play live, and I saw you play live the track Arcadia from your previous album, and that made me wonder. It's so different from the studio album. What did you do with it?
Well, this is pretty much the band version, you know. We at some point during the production of the album, we were together in the studio, and we didn't really know where it's gonna end. But at some point we figured out it's only possible to play the whole thing with a band. And at this point it wasn't even sure that he's going to be in the band. He was just like, yeah, I'm going to help you with the record. And it took a long time to convince him to stay with me. And
Why?
Well, I mean, he's like me, you know, he likes different things and he does all kinds of stuff. And so this is kind of a commitment to just say, okay, I'm going to be in the band for no matter how long it takes.
Are you used to being very free with this? And do you like working with him? And what do you like about it?
I like most that it's very, very challenging, and it's great music, and it's great people, and all together it's the most exciting thing I can imagine at the moment. So. And having this develop, you know, this the 10th, 15th show we've done, and I know Sascha for a year now, and from the first day in the studio where we kind of good afternoon, sir, to rocking out together on stage and understanding that this band is gonna sound really different in 2 years from now. You know, I would be stupid not to wanting to be a part of that.
So I read in an interview that you're a bit of an introvert, and so how do you combine that with working together with all those people?
It's I mean, it's been a long journey, you know. When I started making music, it was just me in the studio, basically, and for a long time.
Did you get lonely?
Not really, because I really enjoy being on my own as well. But the thing is, at some point, it just kind of wore out to be in the studio doing the stuff like you're used to do your stuff. It just, I had like a system, you know, to produce tracks, and at some point it just sounded the same over and over again, and I just didn't like the idea. And then I started the new album after Moderat, which was a very nice experience for me as well, because there was so much input from the Mode Selector guys, and we just got something together. And then I was alone again, and I started to work on this record, and I really wanted to make like an acoustic, like really human kind of record, not so sequenced, whatever. And I completely experienced where my limits are.
So you got a little bit bored
Well,
musically.
no, I mean, anyway, I'm like learning all the time, and but the thing is, at some point, learning wasn't enough. The options were, okay, maybe my new album is gonna take 4 years, and I'm gonna learn everything on my own, or I'm gonna hook up with like really cool people, and then we just got introduced, and because my manager really thought, yeah, I know this guy Nakt, and maybe he could be a real help for you, and he was. So we hooked up and we met in the studio. I played like the ideas to him, and it seemed like he really liked them, because we were kind of on the same level. We wanted to make like very human music, like kind of electronic based, but music with a human feel.
With more emotion.
Always more emotions. But I mean, the thing is, you know, you can just play a guitar and like Jose Gonzalez, he did it for like so long, just a guitar and his voice, and it was so emotional, and that's the core of the song, and that's what we wanted to do for this record. We just really wanted to stay really close to the original idea. And that's not really one of my qualities, because I always end up putting more layers on it, more sounds, and at some point everything's very washy. The original idea is barely there anymore. So when we met, he was basically throwing away all the fucking tracks on top of the original idea.
That's what you needed.
Some guy with no respect. Yeah.
So when with the gig, it's very intimate music on a big festival with people who might not care. How do you deal with that? Do you do something different, or?
We do what we do if people care or not, and it's great we were scared ourselves playing festivals with new material. People don't know the album is coming out in September, and so they don't know the songs, and you're surrounded by 20 stages with rocking bands. But I have to say that the silence also seems to attract the people a lot, and it definitely raises the same energy in the end, I think, than volume and rocking out. So don't you think after seeing the gig that in the end it was totally like the circle was closed, like band, audience, band, the loop, it was all there.
I think it's very good that you rework the songs for a live band, because sometimes artists don't do that. And
well, you know, the thing is, if you listen to the new record, it's not even that we changed the music that much. Of course, we had to kind of like get it into a band concept somehow, but this is the first time in my life.
So you made the record with being played live in your head.
It's not really that we had the live situation on our minds while we made the record, but still I really wanted to make like a calm record, and I really knew that I want to play the record live as it is, because I've never done that. I made mellow records for most of my life, and always when I played live with a laptop, I had to pimp the whole thing. I had to do remixes of the songs, and I ended up in a club situation. And this time, it's really the first time in my life where I can completely like not think about bass drums and dancing and whatever. I'm just like, this is not our business. We just play like a beautiful show, and whoever is going to be into it is going to stay. Otherwise, if you leave, whatever. But that's what I wanted. I wanted to play mellow music like we did in the studio.
So is the next step a full live album recorded with the band?
Well, the last one, a full live album. There's no dogmas. We're not the dogma people. We can combine best of all worlds, and we should do that, I think. But let's see. You know, when we rehearse, we start jamming and shit. So I'm sure that plenty of songs are going to come out from a live situation, and ideally we could want to record them live also. But technically there are no limits or something. You know, if we feel this sound should be recorded that way, then we would do that. And if we feel this track should be recorded live, four guys simultaneously, then we would do that.
That is the main difference, because before, when I played live, there was a limit to, like, the context was the limit, because I was supposed to make people dance somehow, even though my albums weren't, but somehow it was always club, and people expect bass drums. So, and I like bass drums. I've been a fucking techno DJ, like that's how I started. So it's not that I did it, like, not that I was whoring around to become like I don't know what people expect me to be, but I just adjusted to the situation, and I always used to like it. But at some point I really was like, yeah, let's just do what we like. Let's put the original idea on stage.
So a lot of good music is coming from Berlin these days. How come?
How come? Berlin is a very cheap city, and it has this great image of everything's possible. So a lot of people are coming there with this attitude, and actually those people make everything possible. So there are many people who have done crazy shit in basements on weird parties and shit. I'm one of them probably, and so is Sascha. You know, the label Shit Catapult is a classic Berlin situation. Hey, three guys, let's start a label. And by now, some of those guys have went over a certain boundary, which means bringing it all, getting the shit together, bringing it together. And this is happening at the moment with a few bands, and which is great for a change. The last 10 years, I feel, were a bit drier. than actually now.
So we're moving on to another city soon.
Yeah, it's changing. Flux, man.
Well, the thing is, I think Berlin has been a very big attraction for all kinds of musicians from all over the world, and everybody came there basically because it was the living costs are very cheap. That's why I moved there. It was really easy to survive and just make music. Don't care about whatever, because it just worked. And now, of course, it got more expensive, and the whole I don't know, the idea changed a little bit.
So why didn't you? Is that why you didn't release your album on your own label, but on Mute?
That's an easy question, because for the last 10 years, when I was in Berlin, I told you, I met a lot of really, really cool people, and this is like the whole Berlin scene. And I love all these people. It's my friends. We made everything together somehow. There was no big money involved, no big labels, and I'm kind of proud of that. That's how we made Moderat.
Yeah.
It's not like we didn't need a big label to play fucking main stages somewhere, and it made me proud. But the thing is, Berlin is there's always the electronic label attached to Berlin, and still right now, if I'm sometimes I check web reviews, whatever, and it always says Apparat, the dance producer from Berlin. And that is the reason I wanted to get away, and I wanted to release on a label outside of Berlin, to just lose this electronic dance producer thing, just to start over again. And
so the British artist Fink, he's on a electro label in England, and he was a producer, is now a singer-songwriter. Will I be talking to the singer-songwriter in a few years here?
I don't know. I mean, it's all about keeping yourself entertained, and whenever something inspiring happens, you just go for it. It's not really that there is this certain path we have to follow. Maybe at some point we just decide to do a completely noise drone electronic album, whatever. That's the magic, keeping every kind of possibility available the whole time.
Okay, and the new album is called The Devil's Walk. It's released in September, and it's named after a poet, Shelley. It's about politics. Why is that the title of the album?
Because, at some point of course now suddenly I have to write lyrics. That's a new thing for me. So I'm searching for inspiration.
Because you started singing.
Of course, I also started singing. Yeah, it took me a long time to just realize, okay, you have to do it on your own, because this is it's the only way to just make it sound like you want it to sound like. And on the way, I started searching for inspiration on the web, and I found all these old English romantic poets, and Shelley was one of them. And the very interesting part about it was that 200 years ago he wrote this poem, which was basically his reaction to an economic crisis in England at the time. And the poem is about politicians who seem to be friends with the devil somehow. And the thing is, this is 200 fucking years later, and it doesn't really seem like
it's still the same.
It is. Sadly, it is still pretty much the same. Yes. So also the album artwork kind of reflects that, but from a different perspective. Because I was in Mexico when I started the album, and there's this guy Posada who was also some really critical painter, and the album artwork is based on a Posada art painting.
Yes.
And it was the same thing. There was this guy on the market who was selling stuff to the crowd, and there was the devil behind him somehow. And it really connected well with the Shelley poem, so I had to connect both things and just call the album The Devil's Walk, to have at least a little bit of a political meaning in there. Because even though I don't really like to make political music, it's on my mind, and maybe some people gonna figure it out, and that's worth it.
And the new single, Black Water, it's very melancholy, and the video has all kinds of electronic things going up in smoke. Do you have a new theme of doom?
Well, this is the important thing is, once you collaborate with someone, you just listen to his ideas, and then the best possible situation is you just let go and let him do something. And the Black Water video was something like that. You know, someone knew the whole circumstances, and he kind of built the whole video idea around it. And it has a very subtle meaning, but there is a meaning, and I really like that. That's basically the reason I like working with a band, because people, you know, have of course, their idea about their interpretation of your original idea, and it's all about embracing it, not to be like the control freak saying like, no, I want it to have this way.
So you like how someone visualizes your music?
Of course, I had some experiences in the past where I really thought this is definitely not what I wanted. But it's getting more rare somehow. Maybe because the idea is getting more precise. I don't know.